Oh yeah! Hi, I'm Colin Daniel.
And I'm Jonathan Boettcher, and we're from Riff Ninja.com. Today, Colin and I are going to look at some things that two guitar players can do with one capo. One thing that's really annoying is when you got two guitar players and they're both playing exactly the same thing, chord for chord, strum for strum, because you got so many other things that you could be doing with two players. And a capo is a great place to start. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, you know what's really annoying? Two guitar players that want to use a capo.
And they both capo in the same place.
Yeah. Or two guitar players that want to use a capo and they've only got one capo.
That would be annoying too. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use a simple 1-4-5 progression. And I'm going to be playing A, D, and E in just open chords. And you might notice I'm playing an A with just my my index finger there. Kind of like doing that sometimes. It's just kind of a cheater way of doing it, but you get the same result. Other than that, we're just using standard D and E chords that you should probably be familiar with. And I'll let Colin talk about the capo part.
Yeah, just mention that the A, D, and E is 1, 4, and 5 again. A is 1, D is 4, and E is 5. That's out of the scale of A. And that's where Jonathan was getting his 1, 4, 5 from. You'll notice I got the capo here at the 2nd fret. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1, 4, 5 and G, right? Which if you take the capo off, I'll do this for a second here just for fun. If you take the capo off, G, C, and D is 1, 4, 5, and G, right? G is 1, C is 4, D is 5. Okay, now we got this thing where I want to create a slightly different color to the guitar. The nice thing about when you're doing a recording or when you're playing a live thing, as Jonathan said, there's nothing that drives me more crazy than seeing three guitar players all playing acoustic guitars, all playing G, C, and D, and all playing at the same time and the same strum too. They don't even vary the strum. You can get a lot better separation on your recordings or in a live performance if you separate the frequencies a bit. And of course, voicings on guitars, like for example what Jonathan is playing, the A, D, and E, that's a voicing of 1, 4, 5 of A, D, and E because you can play those chords elsewhere on the guitar. So he's chosen this one voicing. As a guitar player, I look at it and go, well, if I want a little more separation, I'll use the G, C, and D because the fingering pattern, which creates a different voicing, will blend nicely with what he's doing, right? The only thing is, it's in the key of G, right? G is 1, C is 4, D is 5. But with this handy-dandy, trusty little device here that sautés and simmers and also capos, you can raise the key or the pitch of what we're working with. In this case, I was in the key of G and Jonathan was in the key of A. So in order for me to move, I'm just going to move this capo a little more. The trick is with a capo to get just the right tension on it. I'm going to move this G, C, and D up 2 frets. 2 frets is a tone. 2 frets or a tone from G is A, right? So the minute that I capo this up 2 frets and I play a G, it's no longer a G, it's actually the A now. And you can actually pick any of the notes in those chords. You can hear the blend. They're not exactly the same arrangement of notes, but they are the same notes contained in there, which is a great variation, especially if one guitar is picking them and the other strumming it too. You can really separate your sounds. There's the C, that'll be the 4. That's the same as Jonathan's D chord. And then, of course, last but not least, my D is the same as Jonathan's Z. That's a nice blend. Yeah, and then when you play the progression together, it sounds great. So we're just going to do like a 1, 4, 5 thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll work. What I'm going to do now is you can vary the strum a bit, like you might, depending on what you want. For example, Jonathan, if you want the lower end to be the more emphasized end, then what I'll do is I'll just what I call pad Jonathan's end, where I'll just like strum through a chord while he's playing the full rhythm. So you might want to do this: 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you could pick it. 1, 2, 3. That's called arpeggio, by the way. Arpeggio is just picking the notes out of the chord.
Yeah, individually.
Yeah. 1, 2, you know what to do. Yeah, doesn't that sound great? I think it sounds really good. Now, I'm thinking to myself, I want more separation. Using the same principle with the capo, but I want more separation because there's only 2 frets, right? The higher you go on the fretboard, you see, you got to look at it like frequencies. There's only so much room. Like if you had a bunch of bass players playing bass, you wouldn't hear any of them. You just hear one big wall of woofy bass sound. So the idea is to separate these sounds and separating by more of a frequency span. Since Jonathan's playing in the lower end with the A, D, and E, I could actually reapply this and use another set of chords. I've kept it to simple chords because you can use partial bars and stuff like that too. But I'm going to take the key of D, D, G, and A. That's 1, 4, 5, and D, right? D is 1, G is 4, A is 5. And now I'm going to move that to the key of A. Now you got to be able to count past 4 to get to figure this out, right? D to E is a tone, E to F is a semitone, F to G is a tone, and G to A is a tone. So if you count again, D to E is a tone, E to F semitone, F to G tone, G to A tone. That's 3.5, right? That was right, wasn't it? Yeah, I got it right. 3.5 tones. 3.5 tones is the equivalent of times 2, right? So 3.5 and 3.5 is 7, right? Because each tone is equivalent to 2 frets. So I just times it by 2. That's the easy way to get it. That means 7 frets. Why am I looking for that distance? I'm looking for that distance because Jonathan's playing in the key of A, and I need to take the key of D, the chords in the key of D, and make them the key of A. And the distance between them, the difference is 7 frets. So if I take this good old trusty old capo of mine and move it up to the 7th fret, that's in no man's land for some of you, I know, way up there past the 3rd dot, you know. But we're going to go up there, 7th fret. I'm sure you know where the 7th fret is if you're watching this. If you're not, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right there, right? Okay? Now, this D chord is going to be like an A. But hear the separation, listen. Quite a big separation. Now you can really hear the difference. So that was my D chord when it was played open, and that was 1. Now my 4 chord was G, and now it's not G anymore, of course. It's the 4 chord of A, which is D. And that's got really nice separation too. And last but not least, Jonathan's E chord I play with an A because A is the 5 chord of D. D, G, and A, right? And sounds great. And of course now we can do our thing. We'll play through it a couple times this time. 1, 2, you know what to do. Keep going, I'll pick it. One more thing we should try just for fun is you pick the chord and I'll strum it, because I think the best sounding capo stuff is when you get the low end chords playing the arpeggio and the upper end doing what I call the padding, right?
Yeah, and it almost makes it sound almost like a little bit of a mandolin kind of sound. It gets kind of higher strummy type of...
That's kind of what you can do with it. Like there's an old group called Bread. They wrote with David Gates, and they wrote some really, really soft, laid back material in the 70s and 80s, and they did that trick all the time, eh? You know, where one guitar would just pad the other and the other one would be playing the low arpeggio. So yeah, it's a very good idea. You want to give her a try?
Yeah, sure. Just while I'm thinking of it, if you're confused on how to use the capo and how to convert from one key to another and stuff like that, check out on the channel, the YouTube channel, because we do have other lessons on there that have gone into that in more detail with just Colin himself. So if you're confused, you can go dig deeper over there.
1, 2, you know what to do. Now while Jonathan's doing that, I could do more of a mandolin strum like this. And there you have it, bonafide bluegrass.
There you go. So this has been Jonathan and Daniel,
Hey,
that's
not
fun.
bad. That's a good name.
Jonathan and Colin from riffninja.com, and just briefly here, we went into this, but we're actually just about to shoot a lesson in our Riff Ninja Academy that's going to go into a lot more detail there, and you can check that out for free for 3 days simply by heading over to riffninja.com. So head on over there, check it out, and we'll see you inside. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jonathan, Daniel, and Colin Boettcher saying goodbye.
Adios.
Colin Daniel here.
And this is Jonathan Boettcher.
And we're from riffninja.com.
There you go.
That's so bad. Don't do that.
Sorry. Sorry. I gotta control myself here.